So guys, getting into Rorschach, this whole comic is written by Tom King, drawn by Jorge Fornes. Now guys, this issue's been really anticipated. They actually released like pretty much the announcement a couple months ago. I put in the community tab, and I told you guys I review it, right? Now, I thought pretty much the comic itself was not bad. It was not bad, but it was not also amazing at the same time. I'll give all my thoughts by the end, like my actual rating stuff, so stay tuned for that. But I'll actually did put down in the description a playlist. Obviously, it's the first issue, so there's no other content on this. But over time, I'll build up this series. Right? I'm pretty sure the series could be 12 issues, same as like Strange Adventures, and I'll be covering each time it comes out. So issue number 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm kind of excited, because I am a big fan of the Watchmen. It's a great series, but I feel like this is just its own story, right? I'll just say that. This doesn't feel like it's really in the Watchmen universe, kinda. Yeah, you have stuff about, like, election, and you got Rorschach, but it does stand alone. So guys, keep that in mind, right? So don't be expecting some big, Watchmen references. There's a couple, but not so much as, oh wow, that's super awesome. It's more like, okay, there's a story here, do I enjoy it or not? Well, you guys are gonna find out as I explain it to you right now. We open on a bridge. Rorschach runs to the bridge, and we hear a loud bang. And Rorschach says, "Laura!" He gets shot a couple of times. He falls to the ground onto his knees, and he's about to say something, but that's when he gets shot right into the head. And he falls to the ground. Rorschach is dead. Now we see Rorschach and the girl he was with, Laura, they're both down this bridge. And pretty much below them is pretty much a presidency, alright? Pretty much a presidency meeting. We saw these people, like a rally, and Rorschach just got killed right there in the opening. Now, as we continue, we go to the main character, and he's talking to this guy, and this guy says, "I think there's no way to say except to say it, sir. I don't trust the people working on this. They're all red Ford people at the end of the day. Whatever uniform they wear, that's who signs their paychecks. And I hate to say it, but we need one of our own looking into this. And I've asked around, I think you might be that. A man almost died yesterday, a great man, on the verge of becoming well. This isn't going to stop him. Thank Christ. I don't even want to think about what could have been. But we need to look into this, that's for damn sure." Then another guy says, "How you want to do it?" And he responds, "We talked to the feds, alright. They don't want anything near scandalous close to the election. They're panicked. We're going to start saying Red Ford wanted to win so bad he didn't give proper security or something." Which he did, but we don't want to win like that. That's not what this campaign is about. Anyway, they'll give you the room to move. If they don't, you just let me know. And the other man says, "I heard you took the call." And he says, "Yeah. On the VIP line, they traced it back to a public phone on the con floor. They got no cameras on that phone. Hundreds of people had access to it. And how they got the VIP number, why they didn't just call the cops or whatever, why I had to be in it. That'd be a good place to start." And he says, "Hello?" He says, "Excuse me, who's this calling?" We have like a flashback, right? And this is during pretty much elections coming, guys. And we had these different rallies. And that's where Rorschach and his pretty much partner was at the beginning of this issue. Now, this other man says, "Ross, get the number for security. It's nothing but some crank. Call security. Tell them we got a call that there's I guess it's a sniper," they said, "on the catwalk, and someone's helping her," they said. And he says, "Some crazy person wearing a Rorschach mask," they said. "Anyway, FBI assigned someone already to license with you. I have his number." And he says he's waiting to hear from you. Now, that's when our main character goes to meet up with this person at a morgue, right? And we see the 2 dead bodies. Now, the person at the morgue says they didn't have any ID on them. We got the girl from Fingerprints. Laura Cummings, 19, out of Hannah, Wyoming. We're digging up everything on her now. There wasn't much of a file on her, is my understanding, at least. Under that, we know now. Our quote-unquote Rorschach friend here is a bit more of a problem. Sadly, no fingerprints in the system, which means he didn't drive or didn't have a license at least. Medical examiner says he's a relatively fit man for his age. Maybe like 80s, if you can believe that at least. Maybe older. So this Rorschach is really old, guys, and somehow he's fit and he's running around and avoiding gunshots. Well, he didn't really avoid him, got shot. And then he continues to say, the shot to the face obviously is going to make the idea even harder. We'll try to reconstruct it as best as we can after the autopsy. And our main character says, can you send me a copy of those prints? And the guy at the morgue says, well, they tell me you get everything. Who am I to argue? Anyway, only thing really interesting is one of the gun wounds on Cummings isn't from yesterday. Probably got a week or so back. And we see the girl. She has pretty much a shot right in her chest. And he says, went straight through, doesn't look clean. And we have a flashback and we see she got shot in pretty much a mission which she was doing a week prior. Now, the guy at the morgue says, no, you're right. The powder and the stitches, this wasn't a pro. We'll check if there's antibiotics in the tox screen. But I think they patched this up themselves. We're checking hospitals though, just in case, to sort of suggest to me that they weren't that organized. I mean, if it was a big conspiracy or something, they at least have a doctor. So guys, pretty much Laura, Cummings, and this Rorschach were working together and patching their own wounds up. The guy at the morgue says, you want to go look at their stuff? And our main character says, that's all. And the guy at the morgue says, yeah, it's just this. Just clothes and the gun, and that's that tape. The gun's already at the lab. Reported be in ASAP. We're processing that tape now, obviously, but you shouldn't seen the thing. It was from like the 60s. We're having trouble extracting what's on it. Just find something to play on without breaking it. And he says, we'll get it eventually. It's just time. We'll send a copy of the tape as soon as we get one. What about the mask? That's what our main character asks. And when we see guys, mask, FBI evidence, and that's when the guy at the morgue goes on and says, store-bought, just Halloween stuff, made in China like everything else. And we see all these different masks, Rorschach masks. He says, we're trying to track where they were bought. They probably pay cash, but maybe there's cameras. You could get lucky, but there's a million of these things. It's a pretty popular costume, even at Oklahoma. You almost wish it was like a fancy one, like the real Rorschach wore. You remember how Rorschach's blots would move around his mask so you could read it different? That was special. That would be easier to find. This fake crap, it's everywhere, really. And that's what he says the tape is going to be the key. That's it, I'm telling you. There's always a statement or a rant from these guys. Probably they thought he was going to get killed or after the assassination. He had tape in his pocket. That'll say what it is. And that's what our main character says. They didn't have badges on them. How'd they get into the convention? Don't you need a badge to get in? And the guy at the morgue says, the badges have your name, your picture. You got to do the whole register thing online. They get scanned. They probably ditched them. And our main character says, was Cummings registered? And the guy at the morgue says, no, we looked into that. And our main character says, so they ditched fake IDs. Man, these people are crazy people. The tape tell you. You'll see, you can't reason with these people. These days, reason's out the door. And the guy at the morgue says, look, I don't know where you want to get to with this, but if you need to hear from the guard, you should do that sooner rather than later. Now, that's when we see our main character. He shows up to the hospital and meets up with a friend. And the friend says, you talked to the doctors? And the main character says, I talked to them. And the other guy in this hospital bed says, they won't talk to me. Treat me like I'm a damn kindergarten kid. I got twins in kindergarten, Dwayne and Dwight. I'm not a kindergarten kid. Jesus Christ, what'd they say to you? And our main character says that you're dying. And the guy in the hospital bed just looks into the dark and says, shit. And that's when we continue, and we go back, a flashback to that night when Rorschach was killed. How Rorschach got in. And this police officer who's in this hospital bed says, we get a call from the campaign, right while Turley is speaking. And guys, Turley is one of the candidates for the election. And he says they said it was probably a crank, but you're supposed to check out the crank. So we're going down the hall, right? Secret Service was sending people too, but we got there first. We cleared out the catwalk here earlier. We knew where the door was. And that's when we see these 3 police officers. And one police officer says, I don't hear anything. The other one says, go slow. Well, that's when the door is kicked into this police officer's face, and we hear a couple like shots, and this police officer who's in this hospital bed now, but in the flashback says, freeze, come out, and his hand's grabbed by Rorschach. It's pulled into the door, and he says, stop, and the other police officer says, let go of the officer, but our other police officer, his wrist gets cracked in the door, and he starts screaming, and the other police officer says, come out now, and we hear a couple of shots hit the door and free the other police officer. Now, that's when the police officer says, Ron, you okay? And Ron says, no. And then the other police officer says, Ron, where's the gun? And out of the door comes Rorschach, and multiple shots are fired. And what we see is 3 different police officers are shot, killed, right there. They all fall to the ground, except for Ron. But that's when Ron looks at the door, he says, oh Jesus, what's it? Oh my God. And he looks, the door opens, he says, oh my God. And he says, all that gunfire, people thought it was the balloons. And out of the door comes Rorschach. And all he says is, Herm? And that's when he points the gun at Ron, and Ron says, police. And Rorschach's about to fire. He fires accidentally, but he says, no. And that's when he runs out the door. Ron's on the ground bleeding. And he says, I guess he heard the Secret Service coming from the other way. There wasn't a door there, but they blew a hole in the wall. I passed out after that, woke up here. So that's Ron's story. That's Ron's perspective of the story. Now our main character says, you thought it was a crank. Why was the service blowing out the wall? Why not back you up at the door? How did they know to be there? And Ron says, dude, I don't know. All I know is that thank God they were okay. Because if they weren't, I'd be some footnote. You know, that's it. The guy that didn't say the future president of the United States. And we see our main character, he walks out of the hospital. And he says, I'm sorry, you got a phone I can use? It's a bit of an emergency. Now he gets the phone, he says, yeah. And we see our other character that we saw at the beginning say, good news, bad news. We figured out how to play the tape. It's not an explanation of what they were doing. It's weird stuff. But there are a bunch of names on it. I'm messaging it over. When you listen, you'll hear. Going through the names, some are past, some are easy to find. And he says, one guy, search for him. Looks like he's been missing for almost 4 weeks or so. Just the right age. And our main character says, he's William Myerson. He's actually a little famous. And that's when we see our main character just starts saying names as he travels to Hollywood. He gets his car, he starts traveling, he has the radio going, and one of the best ones, as he's actually driving, we hear the radio say, this is Frank Miller. I'd like to contact my grandmother, Brigham, and ask her to say her name. Or say hello, or anything. I thought it was pretty cool, guys, hearing Frank Miller. Like, there's so many different name drops here, but Frank Miller is the best one. But we see our main character, he's driving, he sees all these election borders, all these different things trying to market, you know, like a campaign, and he keeps driving, he sees poor people, he sees people, he makes it to Hollywood. He gets there, and when he gets there, he makes it to his hotel, into his bedroom. This is, Pontius Pilate sailed over the 7 seas, and when he was done, he got down on his knees. He prayed, oh Lord, what has I done? Now, we see him look out the window, he sees a poster outside that says Pontius Pilate, right? We see our main character, he meets up with this other guy, right, in Hollywood. Now, the guy says, not enough, God answered, not enough, my son. And our main character says, FBI says these are all foiled assassins. And he pulls out papers, pretty much photos of both pretty much Laura Cummings and Rorschach. It says William Myerson, Laura Cummings. So this Rorschach figure is, his real name is William Myerson. And that's when he could just say, I thought he was an old guy. What's with the picture? Myerson had problems, basically never left his apartment after 1974, except maybe to walk for groceries. No family, no license, no pictures, no friends. But we see that this William Myerson's with this Laura Cummings. So they're together. They're pretty much partners, right? But this guy, William Myerson, who became Rorschach, what is his background? Well, I'm theorizing, I'm thinking about it, but we get a few clues here, right? But now, that's when our main character says, Ray of his place revealed a bunch of drawings. He was an artist, drew pirate stuff in the 60s, kept drawing for himself after that, apparently. This stuff, though, I've seen some of it, not a lot of it makes sense. Nothing power is going nowhere, a lot of nonsense where it's boxes of it. However, some of it seems like liberal stuff. Everyone's a fascist, that kind of thing. Even some anti-Turley junk. Pictures you might interpret as death threats. He was a fanatic. From a credit card, FBI's got Cummings in the safe. Same day Myerson goes missing. So FBI figures that's when they hooked up. It works. Old guy couldn't handle fame. Young girl carried away. This is what happens. So FBI says, this is our guy, Buzz. There's a collector here in LA. Just costume hero stuff, got a Manhattan thong, all that. Helped him out when he got something stolen a while back. 86, Walter Kovacs goes to Sing Sing, gives his prints. Everyone thought they got burnt up in the riot, but this collector, he already bribed a guard for them. And we see this William Myerson, he has a couple like pretty much photos, right? pretty much mugshots. And they say, I reached out to this guy. He sent me over Kovacs prints that compare with the ones on the buy. The two sets matched. What? What are you talking about? Come on, be serious. This is a serious campaign. We don't need this. Now, the guy the main characters meet up with says, check the clock. It's 2020, Detective. Rorschach's dead. And that's how we end off this issue, guys. Issue number 1 of Tom King's Rorschach. So guys, that was Rorschach number 1. And just to like pretty much clear up some like confusion, if you're confused about the story a little bit, what we basically have is this detective, right? Rorschach was killed. And his pretty much partner, Laura Cummings, aka, well, we actually don't know her name. But still, we got these two partners. They were showing up to this one, like, pretty much rally, because there's, like, an election going on, two presidents going against each other, right? Trying to rule America away, right? But what we have is pretty much Rorschach showed up, Laura Cummings showed up, and they both went across the bridge and got shot, killed. Now, at the same time, a couple, like, minutes before they got shot, they showed up, right? Well, Rorschach at least showed up, and we saw these police officers just get all killed. But this one police officer named Ron, he actually survived. And he pretty much told the story of pretty much this guy's arrival, Rorschach's arrival. Now, the detectives trying to piece all this together. He's going to multiple people, trying to piece all this evidence, who this Rorschach is. Now, we know his name, William Myerson, which I don't know if that has any connections to like Watchmen lore or anything. I feel like it's just a new name. That's my perspective of it. But we have this William Myerson and Laura Cummings. We don't know that much of their backstory other than they didn't do that much. Like, they didn't meet up with people, they didn't hang out, they didn't have a driver's license. They're very unknown people, but they work together. So they're very interesting, but what this detective comes to, like, concludes to, is he finds their dead bodies. There's an older guy, a younger girl, and he went to Hollywood, met with this guy, and he started piecing everything together. But the one guy he used to meet up with at the end of the issue pretty much told him straight up, hey, Rorschach's dead. You don't have to worry about it. Like, that's it. Now, on one hand, I'm like, alright, that's fine enough, but we know there's more to the story. Tom King is kind of leading you on a little bit. Because you read this first issue, and it kind of feels standalone. On one hand, yeah, you can just read it, and that's it. I'm like, alright, Rorschach's dead. But that doesn't really add impact to the story, it makes the story very hollow. But it really relies on how Tom King plays out the story. Which, it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, I'm like, okay, you got intrigue to start out the series with Rorschach, he's killed, we don't know who killed him, there's a random sniper, and Rorschach is going after something. Those two partners were going after something, Laura Cummings and William Myerson, and then this detective, who is this guy? We don't know nothing about him other than that he's a detective, and he's looking into, he's trying to find out stuff. That's all we know. Like, this is just all set up, guys. This entire issue is all set up. Like, there's really no action other than the first page when Rorschach just gets, like, shot multiple times. But, so, like I said, double-edged sword. On one hand, I'm like, okay, I like intrigue, right? I like that. It's cool. It keeps you curious, gets you not excited, but you still want to check out the next issue. But on the other hand, what I don't like is where Tom King has done this before. He puts a lot of intrigue, gets me curious about the series, like thinking, theorizing, but then the payoff isn't that good, which I hope the payoff is going to be good with this, alright? I really hope the payoff is good. Because if it's just something dumb, then this first issue is not that good. But if it's very, like, okay, this is rewarding, I really like this, like pretty much the payoff over many issues, then this first issue will be amazing, alright? It really depends on what comes forward. But as a standalone issue, I think it's a solid debut, alright? I think you should check it out if you're a fan of Rorschach, mainly for that moment where he just shoots the different officers. That's pretty badass. I don't know why he shot him, like, that's kind of wrong. But at the same time, see him, like, just shoot and come out, like, that was pretty dope. And then the artwork, guys. Jorge Fornes, his artwork is amazing. Especially that scene with Rorschach shows up, the opening of the issue, the different like detective scenes. It really kept me intrigued. I feel like some of the dialogue, you could have got lost a little bit. You could have got really bored. There's like some of the writing was a little of a slog at points, which I don't know why Tom King did that. Like, well, Tom King does that sometimes. Which, he usually puts poetry, but this time he just put a bunch of names. So that's not any better, but Jorge Fornes kept it going. Even when the writing was a little of a slog, the artwork was still amazing. But yeah, guys, I'm overall going to give this issue an 8 out of 10. I recommend you should check it out. It does me up to the hype, but I'm not going to give it an amazing score. I'm not going to give it a 9 or 8.5 yet, mainly because it really relies on what comes next, alright? It really does. Because if what comes next sucks, then this first issue sucks too. It's just in comparison. But at least if that happens and like the payoff is not good, at least we have good artwork to pretty much fall back on. So artwork looks really great. But yeah, guys, in the comments below, tell me about this. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite part? What do you think about that opening? What are your theories? I'm kind of still coming up with my theories, because there's not much to theorize, just a lot set up, right? But I'd like to know all you guys' thoughts down below. You guys like the video, give a big thumbs up in the channel, make subscribe to my next Rorschach comic review. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and peace out.